President Trump is extending his deadline for Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz or face attacks on its power plants. In a social media post, the president said the extension came at Tehran's request, saying talks are ongoing and they, quote, are going very well. But just this morning, the Iranian Revolutionary Guards, they reiterated that the strait is closed and warned that any movement through the waterway will be met with a harsh response. CBS News White House reporter Aaron Navarro joins us now. Aaron, thank you so much for joining us. The president says the U.S. is now talking to the, quote, right people in Iran. What does he mean by that? And what's the White House saying about these negotiations? Have we learned anything new?
Adriana, good morning. Because of the killing of the Ayatollah at the start of this operation and the open questions about the newly selected Supreme Leader, Mujtaba Khamenei, it was an open question on who the U.S. claimed it was actually talking to in Iran. President Trump says, though, that it was a present of 8 oil tankers that Iran allowed to cross the Strait of Hormuz that told him that he was talking to the right people, the right authorities in control. Take a listen to what he said during the cabinet meeting on Thursday.
They said to show you the fact that we're real and solid and we're there. We're going to let you have 8 boats of oil, 8 boats, 8 big boats of oil. Well, I guess we're dealing with the right people.
Now, President Trump and the White House in recent days have been dismissive of Iran's public comments, rejecting the proposal from the U.S. But during that meeting, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, who was part of these talks, said he believes that Iran is at an inflection point and claimed that there are, quote, good signs that he's seeing from Iran that the deal is possible. But the mixed messaging from President Trump continued in that meeting. At one point, President Trump claimed that the war had already been won by the U.S., kind of signaled that he was ready to move on, but then said that, quote, we have other targets we want to hit before we leave, and pushed back on reports that he's desperate to exit the conflict.
All right. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is meeting with world leaders today. Aaron, how will he navigate the war and try to gain their support?
Rubio will be heading to France just a day after President Trump said he was very disappointed in NATO allies for, quote, doing absolutely nothing in regards to Iran, particularly when it comes to that strait. He told reporters before leaving for his trip that European countries should take action with the strait if they want it reopened, noting that they're the ones that rely on oil that goes through that strait, and asked if he would request help from G7 leaders. Secretary Rubio told reporters, quote, it's the world that has a great interest in the strait, so they should step up and deal with it. Vlad?
All right, Aaron Navarro, thank you very much. Appreciate it. For more on this, let's bring in CBS News foreign correspondent Chris Livesay, who is joining us from Dubai. Chris, the president says talks with Iran are going, quote, very well. But what are we hearing from the Iranians?
Hey, Vlad. Hey, Adriana. Well, at least publicly, the Iranians certainly are denying that they are, quote, begging to make a deal, as President Trump has characterized it. Instead, they're doubling down on their previous demands. They want the United States, of course, to cease hostilities. They also want to basically own the Strait of Hormuz, even after this war is over, able to charge tolls on any ships passing through. They also want billions of dollars in reparations from the United States. And now there are reports that it is also fortifying its positions on Harg Island. That is that critical oil depot right off of its coast, making all of the signs that they simply do not trust the Trump administration and that they're preparing for some kind of a military invasion.
And Chris, Iran continues, like you said, to maintain its chokehold over the Strait of Hormuz. What actions, if any, are being taken to help try to free up transit through that waterway?
Well, here in the UAE, where I am, there are reports that they want to start an international task force in order to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. They want other Gulf states to get involved, which have all been hit really hard. In fact, the UAE, where I am, has been hit more than any other country since this conflict began, more than even Israel. And it's a country that's simply not used to that. It doesn't have bomb shelters everywhere you look, just like Israel does. In fact, just yesterday, 2 people were killed by falling debris, 3 more injured, underscoring that this is very much a hot war, and this is very much a front line of that war, Adriana.
It is indeed. Chris Livesay, thank you so much.